Hey guys, what's going on today? Welcome back to another video. Today we are going to do some swim bait talk. We're going to talk about some swim baits. There's going to be a couple videos, one more video after this. We're going to do big swim baits after this one. I figured this one I'll talk about some of your standard swim baits. So what I call my standard swim baits, which might be different for you, but these are the swim baits that I call my standard. They range from your smaller swim baits, say around 2.5, 3 inch to all the way up to like 4.8s, 5s, something like that. I use these swim baits a lot, and so I've got a lot of experience with them for myself. Maybe not as much as some other anglers, but I use them a lot myself. So I've got a couple of ways that I throw them and areas that I throw them, and I'll explain on what I throw on hooks, jigs, and all that kind of stuff. First, what I want to talk about is in one of my other unboxings of the gear that I purchased recently, I was talking about smaller swim baits, like the 3-inch Savage gear. I believe these are, it's the Ned Minnow. I only got a couple of packs of these, so this is the, black and gold, and then this guy here it is the smallmouth Magic. Got those, and then I picked up the Zoom 4-inch boot tail fluke. Now, why would I pick up a 4-inch when I picked up 3-inch there? So what I do is I trim off, maybe not an inch, but maybe about a 1/4 inch or so off the head and slide it onto a jig head. So it turned a 4-inch boot tail turns into a 3.5 inch swim bait. Of course, with the jig head, it comes back out to about 3.5 or so. And then, Carl's Amazing Baits Freestyle Junior. This is the new penny color. It's like a white belly and a copper top. I like these. They have pretty good tail action. It's a boot tail. And so I got all these a little bit different, for a little bit different reason. So these guys here, I'll take one out. They have a pretty good little action too. And my point for these, you can see that, how that tail, that's going to give really good action in the water. The point for these smaller swim baits, for me, what I'm about to do with them is put them on a heavier football head jig, shaky head jig type, and drag them and pop them on the bottom. That's really my sole purpose for buying these smaller swim baits in different brands. I want, I've used it before. Matter of fact, here's a swim bait that I use a lot, and I have a lot of confidence in it. Now, this doesn't have to be, this brand. It can be whatever, but that's a Guggen Squad Guggen Baits Saucy Swimmer 3.3 on I believe that's a 1/4 ounce VMC boxer head jig. I like these boxer head jigs because they're thick, heavy gauge wire. They can take a lot of beating, and I catch a lot of smallmouth with this. So this has caught the most smallmouth for me. Let me rephrase that. This has caught the most smallmouth for me. I don't catch a ton of smallmouth, but this has. And hook is still very, very sharp. And as you see, I poked myself, so dropping the rod. But these work really good. It still penetrates the mouth of the smallmouth, and I don't throw on really heavy gear, but because if you get too heavy a gear, then I'll just rip it right out of their mouth. But that's a swim bait and swim jig combo that I use, that I know that I will catch fish on. If they're there, that's my confidence lure. That is a little bit different than what I plan on doing though. So this is also, putting this on a heavy football head jig and dragging it on the bottom. And just trying out new things. It's the whole purpose. So these guys, they're a little bit smaller, and sometimes, I don't know what it is. But you can still get big fish, big bites on smaller baits too. Doesn't have to be a big bait. Now, I've got other baits here too. These swim baits are 3.5 swim baits here from JE Custom Jigs. As you probably heard in a bunch of my other videos, I throw his plastics a lot. Catch a lot of fish with them, and they work very well for me. So here's another swim bait here. This is by JE Custom Jigs. You know, it's a ribbed swim bait with boot tail, and I haven't gotten to throw these very often, but these are going to be pretty good too. I'm going to test these out as well. The ones that I have thrown have caught me fish. I mean, who wouldn't want to keep throwing something that catches them fish, right? With that said, smaller swim baits. Again, I like the Guggen Baits Saucy Swimmer. You know, I mean, obviously there's a ton of different brands out there that show similar baits, but I've caught, I don't want to tip it up and dump them everywhere, but I've caught a lot of fish on these things. There's no reason for me to want to switch something where I catch a lot of fish on. These other 3.3s, got a ton of colors here. Honestly, I don't use all these colors. I really only use maybe a handful, 4 or 5 colors, maybe. So maybe a little too much, but sometimes getting that off color will get you that bite if they're a little bit finicky. Now the next size that I go up to is the 3.8. Again, Saucy Swimmers. These are, you know, pretty good baits as well. I mean, they're swim baits. You're gonna catch fish on a swim bait almost anywhere you go. This next size up, and I don't know why. I'll usually either start, so on this size, I will throw this size on, say, a spinner bait or a bladed jig. But if I'm gonna go a straight hook and I'm going for smallmouth, I will actually start out with a 3.3. If I'm going straight hook and I'm going for largemouth, I'll put on a 4.8 or 5 inch. These are 4.8 Guggen Baits Saucy Swimmers. I don't know what it is, but putting one of these guys here, this is a bait that's been working for me last year. This is the green gizzard shad color. This bait has been working really well for me. Putting it on a belly weighted hook with a blade on it, an underspin hook, swim bait hook. These things work really good on there. And the other trick, you know, is Scott Martin has talked about this too. What I'll also do is Texas rig it with a bullet weight on there. And another thing that I'll put it in 4-wheel drive. I will actually put these on 40-pound braid and a heavy gauge hook. You know, kind of like maybe not like a flipping hook, but I'll put on a heavy gauge hook. The one I use is it's kind of in between a wide gap hook and then a worm hook, and it's just between, so it's not too wide, so it doesn't hang down far, but it's still a worm hook, so you can still get the hook to be on top. And I'll still text post it too. And then I'll put about a 1/2 ounce bullet weight on the front. You know why I do that is so that way when I cast it, I'll actually cast it directly into the pencil reeds. Any kind of, you know, cover. And I choose pencil reeds because your line's got to be able to come down into the water so you can swim it. And that's what I'm going for. I'm swimming this thing right in between the pencil reeds, and it's just darting in and out. And it's hitting here. Sometimes the tail gets caught a little bit. That's okay, because when it does, it gets stuck and it pops loose. Sometimes those trigger bites. It's happened to me a couple times already. This was last year. So that's another trick that I'll use in thick cover. And you don't need thick cover to do that. What I will do on my braid is when I'm going in thick cover, anytime I'm throwing braid, I throw braid a lot of times in clear water. So this is what I'll do. I'll actually take a black Sharpie and I'll color my braid about 4 feet up from the hook. 4 feet's really all you need. You can go 4 or 5, whatever. But 4 feet should be all you need. And for me, that I don't know, it's worked for me, and it's a confidence booster for me, and I've never had any issues catching fish. As a matter of fact, I feel like I've caught a few more because it seems to camouflage a little bit better in water than it does with, you know, bright green. Well, not bright green, it's, you know, it's supposed to be a darker green, but after a while when you use braid, what happens to it? The sun gets to it and it turns white, right? So then just take that Sharpie, color it down, and you're all set. So that's another tip that I'll, you know, for you, that what I'll do in heavy cover. And make sure you got a heavy gauge and, you know, tough hook, and maybe, yeah, I like half ounce depending on the weed cover, maybe 3/8. Quarter might get you to float up too high, it'll pop you up over the weeds, or I mean the pencil reeds. You know, that might be fine too, but that's not what I'm going for. I want a half ounce, so it'll get me down and I can swim down. And I want it to be about this far from the top of the water. Typically you're fishing those reeds pretty shallow anyways, and that also works, that technique also works anywhere in the lake. If I'm going to go wide open water, I'll probably throw it on, you know, maybe a fluorocarbon leader. I don't know, depending on the cover you're going into, anywhere between 14 to 17 pound fluorocarbon leader. I don't typically go up to 20, but you can do that too. Okay, so this next section of swim baits that I'm going to talk about, I don't have a ton of experience in. This is just something that I'm going to try this year and try it. I mean, I see them working a lot for a lot of other guys, and I want to try it out too. They are, you know, so in that last unboxing purchase from Tackle Warehouse I bought, it's the Savage Gear, what is this called? The Structure Gill. So I got a few of these guys. Now, I also stated that, you know, in the other video, there's a few other manufacturers that do very similar to this too. So I know there's others out there like it, but I wanted to test these ones out as opposed to the Dark Sleeper. You know, very, very similar. A bit different. So this one looks more, whoops, this one's got a bit longer of a body. You can see, a bit longer of a body. Looks more like a shad type body. Maybe not like a shad body. I don't know. It could be a bluegill, but it's got a longer body. Is what I'm trying to say. And this one's got, you know, more of a taller body than it is long. So a little bit shorter. So they kind of complement each other. Yes, they are very similar to where the hook is positioned, you know, weedless like that. Same thing with this guy. He's got the hook right up on top here. So there's those guys, and then there's also the 10,000 fish headhunter. Okay, so this guy is very similar too. Now he looks more like a bluegill and is not quite as wide, but he's still got the hidden hook. And trying to see here. There we go. So when this guy gets bit, this hook comes up and out like that. That's kind of unique. And then when you're ready, throw it back again, just pop it back down. And you're set. These are another one that I want to. This is another one that I want to give another shot. I fished it a little bit, not a ton of success. Doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean the bait's wrong. Just means it could just very well mean that either I just suck, which could be possible, or I wasn't around the fish, and that's also very possible. Happens all the time. So that's another thing that I want to do, is I want to try those out. And then, you know, here's another one from Optimum Baits. This is a little bit different. So it's just a little bit different body. It's short, but it's tall. Still got the same hook. I'm not going to take this one out of the package, but still got the same hook or hook position. It comes up, but this one's a bit more exposed than those other ones. Now, this isn't a big swim bait, and this isn't one that I'm going to go out and buy. This is actually one I got in one of those Mr. Tackle box, which is kind of neat. So I'm gonna give this one a shot, try it out. Hey, if it works really good, maybe I'll pick up a few more. All right, guys. So when you're doing your swim baits, you know, you can pick, you know, there's a lot of different hooks out there, a lot of different brands. Typically what I'm looking for a swim bait hook is it's going to be a belly weighted hook, and either with or without the underspin, the spinner that's underneath. And it's going to be those two, or the, you know, jig head style like I showed you with that other swim bait. You can throw a swim bait on just about any jig head and it's going to catch fish. You just don't want to throw it around a lot of cover. This has got the exposed hook. It could hang up. Not saying it's not a bad idea. I've done it before, and sometimes when it gets caught on cover and you're able to pop it free, it initiates that reaction strike from the fish if they're there. So, I mean, I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just saying you're going to hang up a little bit more with an exposed hook rather than a weedless swim bait underweight or belly weighted hook. Those are a few different options that I throw. You know, I'm sure there's a bunch of different ways out there too, but those are the ones that work for me. And I really hope that, you know, this helps you guys out too. I'm not an expert in swim bait fishing, okay? I'm really not. I know what I know from what I've done, what I've experienced, and from what I've researched. And I have a lot of fun throwing swim baits. So I like to share it and my techniques and what I use it. Maybe in one video I'll do a video on rods that I use for swim baits, and I'll go over my rod, my reel, line, and you know why I throw it, where I throw it, and all that good stuff. I'll do that on a different video. This one is just a smaller to medium, you know, standard swim baits. Like I said, my opinion, my standards. You guys might have different standard swim baits. Hey, that's all right too. These are just what I call my standard swim baits. All right, guys, that's gonna do it for this video for my standard swim baits. Next video coming at you will be for the big swim baits. These guys, you know, a couple other juicy ones that I just got too. Don't have a ton of experience with them, but we're going to talk about them a little bit. My opinion on, you know, why I got them and all this other good stuff. But we'll go over it in that video. So thank you again for watching, and if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button and like, comment if you'd like to. I'll try to respond to all the comments that I can. I usually do read them all. Oh, and also, we're gonna have a frog video coming up too. Got a couple different sets of frogs here that I want to talk about as well. Thanks for watching. Catch you later.